channel. Probably can't hear me all that good, but brake pedal's good now. Brake pedal, brakes are not getting stuck down to the floor. This is what we're about to try to do. I'm about to try to drive this thing. I haven't drove this thing in 6 months. But for some reason, actually I might not drive it. Brakes are going to the floor still. I know I need to do some bleeding still. And they're getting a little harder. Hydro booster was bad. I think when I separated it, something broke. So got a hydro booster off my buddy's truck, and then swapped it, put it on. Brake pedal stopped getting sucked down to the floor, and we started bleeding some of the brakes. But the back right caliper, the bleeder screw came out sideways, so I left it, so the back right brake technically isn't bled. We kind of, I guess, half-ass bled all the other ones, and I'm starting to get a little bit of brake pressure here. Super nervous to drive it though. Obviously no brakes is a no bueno, but this, yeah, I don't have much stopping power. I'm really scared to drive this thing right now, I'm not gonna lie. Steering's still pretty tight. I'm sure this whole system needs to be bled. We're gonna go take her for a little cruise real quick though. Turbo is actually pretty damn loud. So I have no brakes. I'm driving this around the block right now, around the corner with no brakes, like literally all the way to the floor, barely stopping. But that turbo is actually pretty loud in here. I'm kind of excited, man, but I'm scared. Like, I want to keep driving it to test it out, but I don't know how. Yeah, I can barely stop right now. I can't drive this thing like this. I can't do it. Can't do it. I'm probably gonna smack into my own car. I'm blocking half my own driveway right now. I don't know. I'm gonna pop. I gotta figure out this brake system here. I mean, this is. I understand that the whole system was just completely opened up and blah 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 blah. But it's not. I don't know. We bled the brakes and I bled the power steering on it. Everything's all up to fluid, you know, fluid levels. So I kind of don't understand why these brakes are so soft. It sounds pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. I gotta look at some stuff under the hood, make sure we're not overheating or leaks or anything. Alrighty guys, well, the I know the intro or the beginning, that first part of the video was crazy. I hopped in this truck, I came home, had no brake pressure, but I was so eager to drive it. Went and drove it, truck did fine, no brake pressure though. So I replaced the hydro booster in the truck before the first test drive. Bled the power steering, still didn't have any brakes. Whatever, went and test drove it, came back, and then I ended up coming home today, and we've bled the brakes on this thing like 6 times. I still had no brake pressure, so I did it today again. I had my girlfriend pump the brakes, and I sat there, I ran a hose off all the bleeders, saved all the brake fluid, put it into a jar, blah blah blah. Wanted to see what it looked like. Super bubbly, a lot of air in the system, but I got the brakes working, a full brake pressure, everything's good now. I did go and test drive it today. I didn't realize that my camera was in the truck. I thought I left it at home, but it was on the passenger seat the whole time. But runs and drives, everything is doing fine except for the pressure regulator. I'm losing fuel pressure right now, and I have no leaks anywhere. There's no fuel dripping anywhere, so I think that this regulator might be bad. I did do my one little test drive, and I think the only thing that stopped this boot or this pipe from flying off was the coolant line holding it on right now, because it's like it's ready to come off. But the first test drive was successful, and now what I need to do right now is I put the 05 harness back in the truck, but it still has the 08 taillights. So I'm obviously going to buy 08 taillights for this truck. So instead of buying 05 taillights and whatever, I'm just going to I'm going to wire this plug into this one right here, and then plug it in. Alright, I'm not even sure where I left off at. I've been sick, so I haven't even really been doing much. Probably still hear it in my voice. But the CTS3 came in. I got that all hooked up. I was gonna record that day. It was pouring rain, of course. I'm not gonna record me setting it up inside the truck. I mean, it's pretty common, your choice of applications, whatever you want, wherever. I want to drive this thing. I did drive it that one time around the block, but I haven't drove it anymore because I'm not getting the right fuel pressure. So I thought this truck had a 165 on it. I didn't buy it, a fass 165. I didn't buy it. I bought it off of Justin like that. We didn't put it on, but you know, we were around each other when he bought it. It only has a 140 on it, but they're still good for up to 700 horse. And it comes factory with a 60-65 psi setting in it. So I would think I would at least be hitting somewhere around like 50-55, which is kind of close. We're getting like 49 psi on the gauge, which still isn't really healthy for this thing. So I don't really want to drive it until the fuel pressure is like 60-65. Mario at night shift said like 62 is like perfect for these things. So I've tried adjusting the gauge, the regulator, quite a bit. I've drove it all the way in and drove it all the way out, and it doesn't change. So either it's because the spring inside the fass isn't giving me the right PSI to be able to lower it up here, or something's wrong with this regulator. It's not the gauge, because the gauge goes up and down. So either something's stuck inside this regulator somewhere, or I don't know. So Strictly Diesel, which is who Driven Diesel partners with, they sent me like a bunch of troubleshooting pages to do. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to pinch the return line to see if I get more pressure on the regulator or on the gauge, and if I don't get any more pressure coming out of it, then I'm going to assume it's because of the spring. But if I do see some kind of, or wait, let me say that. If I pinch the line and I do get more pressure, more PSI in the gauge, then that means it's because of the spring, I'm gonna guess. But if it doesn't change, then it's the regulator. So I'm gonna fire this thing up again. I just put a little bit more oil in it. It feels like this thing's, the internals of the motor, consuming a lot of the oil. I think I'm at like 16 or maybe like 17 quarts of oil now. So yeah, I'm gonna try that really quick and see what happens. As you can see, not in the 200. I'm in the old 6-liter. So I probably technically really shouldn't be driving this truck right now, but I could not resist anymore. I wanted to get out and drive this thing and see like how it's performing. I'm not beating on it, I'm not ripping, not racing, just driving. I live in Michigan, so if any of you guys are from Michigan, I don't know if you know about Woodward, like the Woodward Dream Cruise. We went there last night, and honestly I should have brought my camera. It was pretty wild there. People were, there's, I mean, like 8 cop cars in one car. This kid in a little Fiat clown car did a burnout right in front of the cops. People were lighting cars up all night, like built Camaros, some R8s there, McLarens. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. So anyway, I should have brought my camera. It would have been cool. But yeah, I'm driving the truck right now.
I've put 118 miles on it since the rebuild so far. There's only been 2 little things that have scared me. I've had 2 like kind of like little hiccups and surges at coming to a stoplight, just sitting. It's so hot in here right now. There's no air. I haven't recharged it yet, but kind of cool. Sunroof's working again, so, or not again, it never broke, but we got the sunroof. So yeah, it's driving, everything's good, and those 2 little surges at idle kind of made me nervous. I don't know if that's just the system bleeding itself out or if it had some crap fuel or something, but everything on the monitor looked good. The ICP and the IPR, coolant temp, oil temp, everything's good. Right now we're coolant is only 7 degrees apart right now, so that's kind of cool. The oil and coolant are only 7 degrees apart. They say like 15, 16 or something's like the max. You want it to be, you know, numbers apart or degrees apart. So everything's seeming pretty good. Trans fluids or trans temp's been good. It's definitely weird driving this thing. I've never drove or been in a non-VGT 6.0. Definitely sounds like this just sounds like a 7.3 with a 5-inch on it until you like kind of lay into it, which I've been laying off of it because the fuel pressure still isn't at the desired fuel. So I'm gonna order I gotta order the spring to up the PSI in the fass. This is which is kind of crazy because I thought this whole time this truck had a 165 on it, but it only has a 140. But a 140 is still good up to like 700, I think is what they say for horse, which we're like, what I've been told with this setup is we should be anywhere between like 600 like 650. So we're like kind of at the point of the fass, the max point of the fass, but I'm sure we'll still be okay. I'm not going to change anything unless we're running out of fuel for some reason. So I'll do a little exhaust clip here. But that's honestly, when you're cruising on the expressway, it's actually pretty quiet inside the cab, even with having the 5-inch on there. So this is pretty much where we're running at for RPMs and speed right now with the tunes from Night Shift. We're looking at on the gauge, oil and coolant, like I said, are good. EGTs are good. Fickum volts are 54.5, which the reason that they're higher and not 48 is because this has the upgraded Fickum in it. So yeah, we'll try to get some sound, some clips and stuff on the outside of this thing so you guys can hear it. The driving and everything is good right now. We'll probably get back to you after we get the spring and the regulator looked at. I personally think there's a mixture of both. I think there's basically what Driven Diesel says for the regulator is that whatever your desired PSI on there, whatever you want there, is your lift pump needs to be set about 10 PSI higher, which still doesn't make any, I guess it kind of makes sense because I guess it says that this fass right now is like, it's from fass it's set at 60 or 65 or something, which should at least give me 50 or 55 on the gauge on the regulator, which I'm like capped right now with like 48 or 49, which is close to 50, but I still can't turn the regulator down or up. So there's something wrong with the regulator, which kind of pisses me off because this whole kit was 800 bucks with the regulator and the lines. You guys seen what we installed, so that's kind of upsetting. And like, if you call Driven Diesel, they send you a troubleshooting page, which in one of the things it tells you to take the regulator apart, and it's like, no, for $800, like, I shouldn't have to mess with anything other than installing it. Like, I'm not taking it apart, so they're gonna send me a new one whether they like it or not, or I'm gonna flip shit. And so yeah, we'll get back to you, I guess, when we get to that, and then we can actually kind of like rip on the truck a little bit. I'm trying to lay off of it so we don't burn the injectors out or, you know, run them dry or whatever. So I know I'm rambling on. I'm about to be home. I don't feel good still. My head's pounding. I honestly feel like I'm high or I'm drunk right now. Just my head has just been, I don't know, just pressure for like a week now. But it is cool. It feels good to be driving the truck. We had all the kids and everybody loaded up in here last night, and they just kept saying how it just feels weird to drive the truck because they've watched and seen and helped the progress. Alright, so pretty much what we got going on here is I got the 75 PSI spring for the lift pump, hoping that it will stop giving me issues on this regulator here. So the bottom line, oh my lord, that is not coming off there. And I have to get that separated too. Wow. Anyway, so we're gonna put the 75 PSI spring in here and see if we can up this fuel pressure at all. And if that doesn't work, then we either have a kinked line. Ugh. Come on. Alright, so back here behind this fitting here, there's a spring, which is a preset spring to like 60 or 65 PSI, I think is what it is. So there's the fitting. That's the one that comes on the fass. And then if I can get that out of there somehow. And there is the factory spring. So basically, the one on the left is the fass spring and fitting that comes out, and the red one is another fass fitting and a 75 PSI spring. But that the red fitting, you can see these, you can get these kits out there for like 30 bucks, and it comes with a silver one and a red one. The silver one is not fass approved, and that is driven diesel's fitting, and it'll void the warranty if you use it. But it'll also give you like max flow out of your fass system, so if you're not worried about your warranty, then go ahead with it. But we're gonna toss that guy in there and then try to thread this guy on. I think this is actually, okay, so 7/8 fits on it pretty good. 7/8 did not fit on these fast fittings here on the lines. It almost felt like it was like a 15/16 or something. It would not come off. Well, I guess maybe just one side of it doesn't work. Alright, so I'm thinking if we don't have an issue with the regulator, we should see around 50, 60 psi. Should get a drip there. Oh, we have nothing. We have no psi in the gauge now. All right, well, so as you've seen, I had 0 psi on the on our fuel pressure gauge up there. What ended up happening was I had an air pocket in the fuel system, or in the lift pump, so I just cracked the fuel pump loose, put a bucket underneath it, and turned the key forward until fuel came out. And then fuel came out and it was good, and the fuel pressure gauge jumped up to like 65, which was okay. That's good. You can, everybody says between like 62, 65 somewhere is like the best. I talked to night shift, or I talked to Mario at night shift. He said they found the best was like 62 would be perfect for it. So that's what I tried to set it at, and of course I still could not turn down the regulator. So I've been back and forth to driven diesel on this thing for every day in Third Mountain Time, so they're 2 hours behind us for 3 hours. So they're sending me a new regulator. They have no idea why it's doing it. I unplugged the return. In this kit that they give you, there's an 8-inch piece that you have to adapt the rubber line to the factory return line. So I disconnected it there and turned the key forward, and no fuel was actually even coming out of it. So they said they've seen this one time that the fitting, the little 90-degree fitting down here on the return line, was actually made with no hole, or the hole was not big enough. So I'm gonna pull that off and I'm gonna check that out, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know if I should end this video here and then just get back to you guys when we get this thing up and running. No, I'm gonna take this return line off, check that out, and see what happens. I'm probably gonna get all this fuel line, I'm gonna get the regulator taken off anyway, just so it's ready to go once the new one gets here. And I'm sure it's gonna probably take 3 or 4 days to get here. It's just been something with this thing this entire time. It's like all I want to do is just go drive the truck around. I want to drive it, I want to use it, I want to feel it, I want to put my time and my money to use. I want to go rip the truck around, and it's like everything has stopped me from doing this. All right, guys. Well, crazy thing happened since you seen me last in this video. I was working on the truck trying to get the fuel pressure set up right. I put that spring in, and I had an air pocket, or air in the lines in the fass. So I cracked the fuel filter loose, let it run out. Got fuel pressure at the gauge now. It went like right to 70, so it changed it for sure, which is what I needed, but 70 is a little bit too high. So I tried adjusting it on the regulator and still wouldn't move. So I kind of got irritated and like smacked the regulator around a little bit, and the gauge actually kind of like, or the needle fluttered a little bit, or whatever you want to call that, and it ended up setting down to like 68 or 65 or something. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to adjust it, and I was able to adjust it to like 62, which is what Mario from Night Shift Diesel, the peer, told me. He's like 62 is probably about the best. Driven Diesel says 65, so we'll work with it a little bit, see what seems to be the best. But my God, it's so annoying.
rain visor. So now it just waves and rattles. But so I have been driving the truck a lot. I think I've already put like, I've put 200, almost 300 miles on the truck already. I drove it for work the other day. Still working some stuff out though. I had the lower radiator hose I had to tighten up. It was leaking. I have an oil leak coming from somewhere underneath the turbo area, like the H-pop cover or the oil filter housing, but I think it's on the drain for the turbo, which I did tighten it up. One of the bolts were loose. I think the other side might be loose. So I'm gonna I might have to take the degas bottle out and some other stuff out of the way to get to that bolt. So it's not a big leak, but it is enough to be annoying and could be harmful at one point when it does leak too much out. But the truck is running and driving. Went out last night, spanked some McLarens and R8s and GTRs and kept it easy on them. But no, it does rip. It does feel good, this turbo. So for you guys that don't know, it's a non-VGT setup. It's a Harrington T4 kit with a Smeding 364.5 turbo. It's a oh my god, what are the specs on this turbo? It's been so long. It's yeah, I'm gonna have to look. I don't even know, honestly. I'll put it down here. But it spools really quick. It spools quick. I've been driving on the race tune or the street tune, which did okay. It seemed like it fell on its face real easy. And I put the race tune on last night when we went out to Woodward, and it smokes. It gets very smoky, but it spools and lights up really quick. But the only thing I don't like is I think that when I'm towing with this truck, I think the EGTs are gonna get high really quick, because I was just coming up over a little baby hill over here, and the EGTs hit 1,000 like instantly when I tried to get on it. So I'm gonna assume with towing, we're gonna be in like the 1200s, 1300s, like really quick and easy. Which is okay, but I'm hoping that it doesn't get to the 1500s when we're going up hills and stuff with a camper. So this is where we're these are temps right now. I haven't seen the oil and coolant get more than like 12 degrees apart, which is pretty good. ICP and IPR have been really good. Trans temp, I don't think I've seen anything more than 155 or something. Even when we were last night, we were just doing laps and circles, just going up and down, and kind of, I wasn't really ripping on it. Everyone else was ripping on their stuff. I've been trying to be easy on it to make sure that the boots are good and coolant and trans temp, everything's still fine. But see if we can get it to smoke a little bit here. No, it can get smoky really quick. I don't know if you guys heard the turbo on that, but I was looking at the gauge while you guys were looking at that, but that was 27 pounds, and that was very quick. Not a whole lot of throttle, which I don't really think you need to give it a whole lot of throttle. It spools really fast. Even on the top end, it still gets it pretty good. The setup before this was a factory pedestal, the whole factory up pipes, but it had a KC stage 3, which I think is like a 67 mil turbo, I think, or 68 mil. That thing took forever to spool up. I missed the sound. I actually just had a kid send me a video of the turbo, and god damn do I ever miss that sound. That is very hard to get used to. This thing sounds like a 7.3, but just that sound from the KC, it's like, I don't think I'm gonna be running a non-VGT setup very long, to be honest with you. We're gonna see how it does when it tows. If it tows good, I'll keep it on there until I find a tow truck. Eventually I would like to, trying to set my cruise control here. Eventually I'd like to find a 4-door long box 7360 Cummins or something to tow with and haul my camper and do whatever, and then turn this thing into the hood stacked, low, wide, just nasty, rowdy truck. But yeah, we're gonna, that's my little input on it so far. I haven't really done too much
like kind of racing with it yet, so I can't really tell you how it's gonna do there. But I'm gonna try to get some, I think I'm gonna try to hook my GoPro up on the bed and see if we can get some sound clips. Decent little oil leak there. Like I said, I think it's coming from, I don't know, it's kind of hard to tell. I know usually when you have like a bad seal or an oil pressure leak, you get like a hot no start, and it does take a second longer to crank after it is warm and I shut it off. So I don't know if it's coming from the H-pop cover or the turbo, the drain, because the pedestal is the drain on these. It goes through the, comes out the turbo, through the pedestal, down through a little channel, and then out into a tube, and then around into the H-pop cover. So it's kind of a weird setup, but that's what I was explaining in one of the past videos when I was putting the turbo on, was the amount of movement that you could get on the pedestal. So I don't really like that setup, but I'm gonna have to find some kind of bolts for that. But yeah, I think it sounded pretty cool. It smokes a little bit when we first start it. You get a little bit of blue smoke and it clears up right away. So I'm gonna go get you guys some sound clips of this thing before we shut this video out.